A midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over a many quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, "tapping at my chamber door. This is it, and nothing more." Ah, distinctly I remember, it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember cast its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I waited the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, that rare and radiant maiden that the angels named Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silk, sad, uncertain twisting of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with strange terrors never felt before. So, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. 'Tis some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This is it, and nothing more." Presently, my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madame, truly your forgiveness I implore, but truth is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that scarce I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Ah! Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into the darkness peering, long I stood there, wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word "Lenore." Back into my chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "there is something at my window lattice. Let me see then where they're at this, and this mystery explore. Open here, 'tis the wind and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, then with many a flirt and flutter in there walked a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obscene smeed he, not a minute stopped of state he, but with mine of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched and sat upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. Perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling by the grim and stern decorum of the countenance that it wore. "Though thy crest is shorn and shaven, though I'd sure on no Though thy crest is shorn and shaven, though I'd said art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven wandering from the nightly shore, tell me what thy lordly name is on this night Plutonian shore." Quoth the raven,
"Nevermore."
Much I marvel this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being was ever blessed with seeing bird or beast perched above his chamber door, bird or beast perched upon a bust of Pallas just above his chamber door, with such a name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing further than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, "Other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before." Then the bird said,
"Nevermore."
Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken. "Doubtless," said I, "what it utters is merely stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hopes of melancholy burden bore, of never, nevermore." But the raven, still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet Sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. This and more I sat in guessing. This and more I sat in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery gaze now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating over. But whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloated o'er, she shall press on evermore. Then, methought the air grew denser, perfumed by an unseen censer, swung by Seraphon, whose footfalls tinkled across the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, though thy God has sent thee, by the angels he has lent thee, respite, and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff, this kind nepenthe, and forget the lost Lenore. Quoth the raven,
Nevermore.
Prophet, I said, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil. Prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempest sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore. Desolate, yet undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven,
Nevermore.
Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil. By the heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Eden it shall clasp that radiant maiden, whom the angels named Lenore. Clasp that rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels named Lenore. Quoth the raven,
Nevermore.
Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked upstarting. Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of the lie thy soul has spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart and thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, Nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting, perched upon a placid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'erstreaming casts his shadow on the floor, and my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. Cooper Moore.